It is Kylie here of Kylie's Family Wellness. And in today's video, I really want to talk about babies and low iron. And this is a question that I get asked pretty often. And I was just asked this in my Babies at Play classes on Tuesday. And so I thought I would pop in here and do a quick little video on this topic of babies and low iron. And this is something that I often see in the sleep support that I do is I really feel like the nutritional imbalances or the vitamin and mineral deficiencies are a missing piece of the puzzle for various things like sleep disturbances, frequent wakings, restless sleep, as well as mood, behavior, gut health, and reflux, and so much more. And this is a piece of the puzzle that I really feel is often not even on the table, and it's very often overlooked. And so, as a first time mom, you're probably wondering about a lot of things when it comes to your baby. And I know that one of the questions that you think to yourself is whether or not babies really do get low iron at around that 6 month old kind of age range, like your doctor says. So, I want to do this video talking a little bit about that. So, unfortunately, nutritional deficiencies are more common than you think in our Western world. So it's always a good idea to get blood work done for yourself to see where you stand. It's very hard to do blood work for babies and even toddlers because their veins are so small. But if you get blood work done for yourself, then you'll have at least a starting point to know if your baby also has low sort of nutritional imbalances or low in any vitamin or mineral, because if you're low, then most likely so are they, because they didn't get all of that transferred in utero or through your breast milk if you're breastfeeding. And so, you really want to make sure, because if your levels are low, like I mentioned, and you're breastfeeding, it's highly likely that your baby's levels are going to be low too. Now, even if your baby is on formula, I would still be looking at possible nutritional imbalances, especially if you're seeing signs and symptoms that might warrant a closer look. So let's talk a little bit about what is iron and why do babies need it. So iron has been shown to have a pretty big importance in babies' development of sleep stages, but it's also really important for cell growth and repair, for energy, and also cardiovascular function, along with those sort of development of the sleep stages. The other thing is that babies with low iron, typically sort of low iron or iron deficiency, may cause symptoms that we often relate to tiredness. So, symptoms for babies might include things like fatigue, poor appetite, irritability, difficulty calming to sleep, and restless sleep. Those two are big ones. The difficulty calming to sleep and very restless sleep, those are often an indication that there might be some low iron going on. Now, for you as a mama, often we attribute these symptoms of tiredness to looking after a sleepless baby, but it could be low iron. Low iron is also linked to an increased risk of that perinatal mood and anxiety disorder, so the PMADs. Also, it is linked to lowered milk production, fatigue, exhaustion, and also an increased sort of frequency of urinary tract infections. So I wanted to mention this because if you started off your pregnancy with low iron, that gets depleted while you are growing your baby in utero. And then you lose all that blood when you're giving birth. And even if you didn't lose or didn't have like excessive bleeding, you might still have lower iron as a result of just giving birth. And so, truthfully, most of us are deficient in iron. And if you had low iron or anemia even before your pregnancy or during your pregnancy, and I'm sure that was tested at some point, so go back and see, then you most likely have low iron now as well. And your baby is getting their iron stores from you in the first 6 to 9 months. So if yours are low, then most likely so are theirs. And the thing is that, so at 6 months, your baby doesn't stop getting iron from you, and your body doesn't stop making iron for your baby. What happens is that actually your baby's iron needs increase in that 6 to 9 month range. And so the iron that they're getting from you is not actually adequate enough for their growing needs. This is why there's the big push for, making sure that your baby is getting iron-rich foods and all of the fortified cereals on the market. Okay, let's talk about that for a sec. So let's just quickly talk a little bit about how you can get iron through foods to increase their iron intake. So foods, things like red meats, poultry, fish, legumes, nuts, those are really great sources of iron. You could even get like the liver from grass-fed animal, and that has a ton of iron in it, but you could actually make that into a puree, or make that pureed along with other purees that you're using in terms of vegetable purees or whatnot. And the thing is that your baby is not thinking in their head, ew, liver, like we might. They don't know the difference. So give it to them. Try it. They might actually like it, or they might be totally fine and not really care about it. They might need a few times of trying it to really be like, oh, okay, like this isn't so bad. And really, our babies get used to it, used to whatever we give them. And so I want to talk a little bit about the iron fortified cereals, because I actually recommend that you stay away from those, because the thing is that babies often have a harder time digesting complex carbs and grains, at least initially, because they're actually lacking the digestive enzymes to really digest those properly. But also grains have something called phytic, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, acid on top of their sort of coat. They're coated with it. And that is something that is really hard for babies to absorb and to digest. And sometimes that can also lead to difficulty absorbing nutrients, because if they're just getting too much of it. So I would just stay away from the fortified cereals. Just because it says fortified with iron doesn't actually mean that that cereal is healthy for your baby. I would actually stick to the other iron-rich foods. Okay. The other thing that you can do is potentially supplement with iron. And I suggest talking to a naturopath about this versus your doctor, because naturopaths have very different levels of vitamins and minerals that they consider low. And so I have often had clients who go to their doctor, and their doctor is like, nope, there's nothing wrong. So let's say doctors consider anything under 20 in ferritin to be low. And naturopaths consider anything under 50 in ferritin to be low. So that means that if you are hovering around 25, 30, your doctor's going to say, oh, no, you don't have low iron. But according to the naturopath, yeah, you do have low iron. And that can lead to all these symptoms in yourself and your baby. So it's really important to get the blood work read, I personally think, by a naturopath. Because they have different levels than your doctor does. And the reason being is that naturopaths are looking more at maintaining health and wellness. Doctors are looking more at, is there a pathology? There's a big difference between pathology, or like, okay, I have some symptoms. I'm not like dying, but I have some symptoms, and let's take care of that. So that's why the levels are often different. One of the things I have really loved for my own family, and that I have had a lot of families tell me that worked for them as well, is supplementing with iron using something called the Lucky Iron Fish. Literally, this is a piece of iron. It's shaped like a fish. You boil it in water with a little bit of citrus, and then you just drink the water. You use it for cooking. And this is actually better absorbed in your body than your standard iron supplement, which often iron supplements do not taste well, so it's very hard to get your baby to actually ingest it, or your toddler to ingest it. But this iron water, so to say, is better absorbed and doesn't have a taste. It has a little bit of that citrus taste, but that's it. And so, yeah, I just wanted to mention all of this because low iron can lead to difficulty falling asleep, difficulty calming to sleep, and restless sleep. So if you've got a really active toddler and they're not able to, calm down to sleep, or you have a baby who's just moving around and just seems like they're not getting a good quality sleep, it might be as a result of low iron. That being said, on the flip side of that, I also don't want you to worry that, oh my gosh, my 6-month-old or 7-month-old or 8-month-old is not really doing well with solids. And now I'm worried that they're not getting enough iron. So you want to make sure that, yes, your baby's needs increase, and you want to make sure that you're giving them iron rich foods because their iron needs do increase. But we also want to make sure that we're not freaking out if our baby doesn't do solids as well, or if they're still learning. You don't have to go right to the iron fortified cereals and all of that kind of stuff. You can just use your iron rich foods and potentially look into and consider supplementing with iron as well. But again, I recommend that you talk to a naturopath, get your levels checked, rule out whether you and or your baby has low iron, and then you can go from there. Hope this helped you or gave you at least something else to think about. If you want more content like this, please feel free to come and join me inside the Sleep Deprived Mamas group. This is where you get heart-centered and holistic support without sleep training. I will post the link along with this video. And if you have any questions, please let me know down below. Bye for now.